drill down to different things. The over-the-counter, OTC, this is what I personally am most interested in on these tax liens, is over-the-counter, because basically you don't have to bid against anybody, you don't have to wait for a certain period of time, you can just go to the location that has over-the-counter sales, and you can buy them right there on the spot, boom, away you go. So this will give you a quick way of clicking on that, drilling down to where the different locations are throughout the U.S. to get to these over-the-counter sales.
So then what's your guideline criteria then? Are you looking for the highest interest rates around, or are you looking at the highest property value you can get the deal back, or how long it's been there in relation to the years?
You would think that, that just getting the highest interest rate was the best deal, but in some cases it's not, because it may take a year and a half, or 2 years to get that. So if you had a flat fee like Indiana, where they pay you 10% in 6 months, that might actually equate to a higher interest rate than 10% if you did it for you in a year, right?
I like the red
So,
ones better.
for me, I'm just kind of starting off, and I wish I had a lot more information to tell you. But I would say, number one, I'm looking at the over-the-counter sales that I can pick up anytime. And as all investors, no matter what you're investing in, you're going to run out of money really quick. And so my real thing is, after I kind of do a few of these myself, and for my kids, my wife, and a few friends, I'll be looking for more equity share partners to do some of this tax lien stuff with. Okay? Which means if you don't have the time, you don't want to spend all the money, you can come in and start learning some of this stuff and start, coming in as equity share partner. Yes, Kate?
How would that work? The equity share partner?
Well, there's a couple ways that can work. Basically, if you go back to one of my websites, I've got so many websites. Let me show you. Okay, so let's go over here and go to National Home Buyers. Let's go here. And let's go over to National Home Buyers. And then let's scroll down. And this way, REO page. So this is the main page of my National Home Buyer site. It comes up with some REO stuff, but basically it comes out and it shows you joint venture purchase options. So you say, well, how does this work? On this page, you could pick from about 7 different ways of dealing with things, and one thing would be a 50-50 split. Okay, be an equity share partner on a property, you provide all the cash, I do all the work, we split the profits. That can be done through an LLC, that can be done also attached to an IRA. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but you're probably more saying...
Same way with the tax needs?
Yeah, basically. So let's say you put down $3,000 and back came $300, 10%. You get $150, I get $150. Of course, what happens is you get a check back for your $3,000 plus $150. And then you say, okay, that was great, Dan, let's go do it again, or let's do something else.
What if you got the property?
Okay, now if you got the property, what we would do, and we had that agreement before we went into this, that basically we would sell the property, because the truth is, as we get into this more deeper today, you're going to see that I'm not really interested in getting a whole lot of properties. My goal at one point was having about 30 or 40 rental properties and just having lots of cash flow coming in. And you're going to see as we go through this why that's not my goal, and why I'm more interested in vacant land, no taxes, or no termites, no toilets, no tenants.
You got my line. You took my line.
Yes. We're going to talk a lot more about that. So my mode of operation would be, if we got a property, I would do all the work, we'd buy the thing, we would sell it, I would immediately put it into the hands of a realtor, let them get rid of it as quick as possible, and if we got one through a tax lien, you're going to get it really cheap. It's not going to be difficult selling it in this market, because if you sold a house right now for $1, you'd get rid of it, wouldn't you? So it's, there's a point where you come down low enough, it's going to go pretty quick. I'm not looking to make a whole lot of money. I'm looking to get rid of it real quick, so I'm not responsible for the property.
What about the risk factor?
And the risk factor?
Is there a lot of risk if you don't get the property, just buying the tax lien?
There's very little risk factor in doing tax liens. Because first of all, let's say they didn't redeem it, and you now came up to the point where you were able to foreclose. Because if they don't redeem it and you don't get your money back, then it's your responsibility to foreclose. Well, you could actually say, nah, I don't want to foreclose. Okay? Somebody else might come in and foreclose the next year. Somebody might buy that tax lien. They may be the one. Because if it's like, say, maybe a 3-year redemption, you might have the first year, somebody else might have the second, somebody else might have the third. Well, any one of those people can do the foreclosure. And if you were the second, you could actually go back to the first and say, hey, how would you like to sell your rights to foreclose? I'm still waiting for it to get to the second year, but you're already there, and you're not foreclosing. You want to sell your rights to foreclose, and off you go.
On the same property?
On the same property. What would happen is you would pay them, like let's say they put down $3,000, you would pay them their $3,000, maybe a little bit more, and then you would get the rights to actually do the foreclosure on that first year. Okay? Some people don't want to foreclose. They just don't want to deal with it. So they just let somebody else foreclose. They just want their money. Okay? Once you get the property, then you have all the risk of property ownership. You know what that is. Okay? Hey, who's living in my vacant rental property? There's a party going on there. Who mentioned the party? Who was it that mentioned the party? Where was this? In Santa Maria?
Santa Maria.
So what happened?
It was the property was vacant and several kids got one in there, had a party over the weekend, tore it up, but there was no one's responsibility, and the director of the party guy, just everything was fine. Beer everywhere, trash everywhere, drugs everywhere.
And this was just a couple weeks ago?
What was the question?
Was it just a couple weeks ago?
Yes, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay, 2 weeks ago, Santa Maria, kids said, hey, vacant house in this party. And they did.
Was the house not locked?
Oh, they broke in.
Yeah, they probably broke a window. It's not that difficult to get into a house if you really want to get in there. And in fact, that's my guess is why the mortgage companies right now, the banks like Bank of America and other places, are not foreclosing on a lot of properties. They've got so many foreclosures on the records that they're saying, hey, you know what? As soon as we have an empty house, they're going to be partying and trashing the place. And the cities are all hurting now. If you're an investor and you buy a property that's foreclosed, the first thing the city's going to do is come in there and go, oh, hey, the grass was 3 inches, it's supposed to be 2 inches, that's a $500 fine because you're a business, not an individual. It'd only be $75 if you were an individual. So they're looking for money. They're probably starting to put pressure on the mortgage companies because they don't want these houses vacant and they don't want them trashed. In any case, the banks are saying, hey, let's just not do a foreclosure. If they're not paying, let's not do a notice of default. Let's just hold off. And so you've heard in the news very recently, they're just holding off, just not doing foreclosures. So they know we are in deep doo-doo. That's why they're not doing it. So yeah, you can go to this page and you can take a look at all the different options that I've got if you want to be an equity share partner or whatever. Okay? Yeah.
I actually think one of the other things that's going on with the banks is if they foreclose on a property, by law, they actually have to hold a multiplier of the foreclosed dollar amount out of the loan pool.
Exactly.
And those numbers are big.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of foreclosures, the number could be like 8 or 10x.
Yeah.
So the bank forecloses on a $100,000 property, and then the Fed forces them to keep $800,000 or $1 million out of the loan pool.
Exactly.
And so that's their punishment for foreclosing.
And that's the only reason they're in the business is to loan money. And when all of a sudden they can loan less because of the foreclosure, that's a bigger factor than anything that you can think about right now.
And that's what the media doesn't talk about.
Yeah, well, no, they're not going to talk about
And
it.
it's a great piece of leverage if you're trying to buy properties off of the banks to say, hey, you know,
Short
all right,
sales.
yeah, you know, we're negotiating about 5% here, but keep in mind, you know what's not in your loan pool and what is.
Exactly. In fact, when you're doing the short sales, there's different times of the month and the year that they're going to say yes more than other times. So I've done short sales for a couple of years. I'm never going back. Forget it. It's too much work. There's easier ways. But yeah, there's major problems going on out there with all this. Okay, so the tool, it really is an excellent tool. I mean, you just hate to go to a seminar and you've already paid to get in there.